It's official. We're back to the Pooh Show, says Ben, after turning down all my great names that I came up with on the fly.
All I know is we got to edit some new video because half the guys on the shot videos are gone. Actually, more than half are gone.
Then you got to invent more hours in the day so I have time to do it because right now,
Okay.
got zero time. But I do have time for this. Check this out. Working Draft Beer out of Madison. OG Hazy is what I got tonight. First time trying it. OG Hazy, a German style Hefeweizen or something like that.
Well, I got the great RC Cola, but it's in this
What is it? Dragon mug?
a double-headed dragon mug.
What do you call it? Say it. Chalice or something
I
else.
got it. I got it from Olivia when she was in Europe. That's my daughter. She got it from Germany. The problem is it looks really big when I'm holding it like there. It's actually about 2 ounces you can fit in this glass.
Well, it's from Europe. What do you expect?
So, like two drinks and it's gone.
That's every drink in Europe.
It's pretty much a shot in Wisconsin. Is what this size this is.
All right, let's get into these Packer rosters. What do you? Oh my gosh, people out there, anybody that comes in here, we got a couple joining us. Maybe Dad. Wonder what Dad thinks about these Packer roster cuts. Anybody else? You got some thoughts? We got some thoughts.
It's interesting. It's interesting.
It's some of the things are just weird. Just weird. I don't know. And it's almost like Goody's worried. Once again, they're like over. Partly it's the strategy. Are you playing the right strategy? Like some of these guys that you kept on the roster, would anyone really want them based on what they saw this preseason?
Well, there's a couple different. Well, we should get into them. We'll get into it. Let's just do the roster. Let's just go down and we'll talk about each guy and why they're there and why they shouldn't be there or whatever the case is. Well, man, dude, what's up? Also, just wanted to say real quick, yesterday would have been Mom's birthday. She is since gone now, almost a whole year already. But one of my favorite episodes we've ever done was the 70 fart gun salute for Mom's 70th birthday. If you want to go back in history and see a fun video. And one more thing, it's interesting because I was thinking about it today, and it's kind of like when The Last Jedi came out. I always thought Chewbacca was my favorite character from Star Wars.
Mm-hmm.
But after Last Jedi, I realized it was actually Luke because they just destroyed his character and maybe got me so angry and mad that I was like, oh my God, I guess Luke was always my favorite character the whole time. It's the same type of thing with my Packer fandom. Like, I know I'm a Packer fan, but the biggest thing that helped us do this show and helped us become Packer fans was Mom was on top of stuff constantly, sending us texts, calling us, letting us know every little thing that was in the news about the Pack because she was on top of that stuff like you wouldn't believe. And probably the biggest Packer fan I've ever met, around. She's the only one of our family who actually owns the Packers. She had the certificate for it. I don't know where that is. I'm sure Dad has it somewhere, but so it's just an honor to, for her. And go back if you ever have time, watch the 70 fart gun salute. It's super funny. After a while, Jason's like doing like 5 fart guns because we were getting so long. It was like a 2-hour show. We're like, dude, we got to get 70 in here somehow. Bam, bam, bam. But anyways, honor to Mom, miss her a great deal, and that's part of the reason also why it's harder for us to get back on the show is because, to be honest, it's hard for me in Rochester and you in Madison to get all of the stuff that Mom would get and tell us what the heck was going on half the time. Now I got to listen to Andy Herman and Wes Hodkowitz, and they're good guys and stuff, but I don't trust them like I trusted Mom. So yeah.
And Dad always knew the draft picks in advance.
Oh yeah, Dad called Jordan Love, but I think he just got lucky that time.
I thought didn't he call Lucas Van Ness too? And I can't remember anyway.
Probably. I don't know.
Oh, right. Speaking of that, let's get into it here. We got 53-man roster. We love Mom. Mom, thank you for everything you did for us. But let's talk about this 53-man roster. I don't know what you think about it. Wes says, okay, Ben, here's the thing going into it. Big headliner, right? Packers keep 6 receivers, 11 defensive linemen.
I've never seen anything so dumb.
Uh, all right. So as we look at it, we know they made the big trade for for Malik Willis, a 7th round pick, cut Sean Clifford, cut Michael Pratt. And which is ironic in a way because Gute said like recently or last year, I really wanted to get back into drafting quarterbacks every year because we got away from that for a while and then we had garbage behind Aaron Rodgers. So yeah, it was really good that we did that. And then he drafted these guys back-to-back seasons and cut and cut. So
I think it's the interesting part to me is how can a guy who Sean Clifford, to me, last preseason did seem like a pretty halfway decent player.
yeah,
And this preseason hasn't looked as good. There's no doubts about it.
right.
But he also isn't out there playing with Malik Heath and Dontavian Wicks and Reed. Last preseason, he had the top receivers on our team in the preseason.
Mm.
This year, he's got Grant DeBose and, Malik Heath's there, but even him, he's a 6th receiver on the team or whatever. And I don't know. I struggle to find how a guy could get worse in a year. You know what I'm saying? And the fact that you're willing to just cut him when he's on a really cheap contract, and we still, for not this year, but 2 more years after this, by cutting him here, now you have to sign him to a whole nother contract if you bring him on as the practice squad. And
I don't think they would, right? They'd probably go with Pratt.
And even Pratt, you have him. If you keep him on the roster, you have him for a longer. You could hide him on the 53, never activate him. You only activate 46 guys. That's 7 spots. You could sit him on even Michael Pratt could sit on the freaking bench, never get activated all year, but that contract is still in effect for 4 years.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Point.
Like, it's dumb. It's actually kind of dumb. So I don't know. And maybe there's something different that I don't know about. I know with undrafted free agents, like with Alan Lazard and Robert Tonyan, they always had the rights to them for like years and years and years in advance, which was bullcrap because those guys would go out and play great and still get screwed and not make any money.
Yeah.
But that was the rules that the NFL has for, you pay Jair Alexander $25 million a year and you pay, Kalen King $10 or whatever.
Kalen King, then you cut him.
But now he's gone, which is still another big. We'll get to that in a second.
That cornerback group is scary. Anyway, let's go.
Well, yes, but also, so it's interesting to me because to see a guy get cut in the second year, after I thought he did pretty good, and not only that, he was a calming. He was the backup all last year when we were doing, and Jordan Love struggled, right? And we had this guy the whole year. Like what? But now all of a sudden he's not good enough anymore.
And I'm going to say this about Malik Willis, weird. Right? You saw him.
Well, he's not good.
As an athlete, you were like, okay. And, coming out, okay. I think he was like the 3rd quarterback drafted that year or something like that. But then you actually saw him have to play quarterback in some games because he got in because they had injuries, right? And he was passing for like 80 some yards. Like he was terrible.
He can't complete a pass.
No. I mean, he cannot read NFL defenses. He can't throw from the pocket. Like, yeah, he's a good athlete, but damn, he's not a quarterback. And this is what this is it? Unless you.
Yeah. His sack percent, he had sacked 14 times in 91 dropbacks or something like that.
Yeah, a lot.
But here's the thing. His pocket was average of over 3 seconds in the pocket.
Yeah.
Which means the ball should have been gone way before he ever got sacked. So he's one of those, Russell Wilson, Justin Fields guys who is taking way more sacks than he should because he doesn't know what the heck's going on out there. He can't, once the defense adjusts after the ball snapped, he can't figure out what's happening here, and he doesn't know what to do with the ball, right?
Yeah.
And he's not a backup quarterback. Like,
he's a project.
Right. He is a project. So what are they going to do? Are they going to have, are they going to pick another guy up and cut somebody here? And then, I don't get it. Because he's not a start. He's not a guy you could come in. Like if Jordan Love gets hurt and he comes in, it's not good. He's not good enough. He might be. He has the talent to be something, yes. And maybe with Tom Clements, he can learn some stuff. Like Jordan Love has issues too.
Yeah.
What he's a rookie and so forth. But at this point, this is a 3rd-year player who, if Jordan Love went down, I don't trust him any more than Sean Clifford or freaking Michael Pratt. I'll tell you that.
No, I mean,
I trust Sean Clifford more than I trusted him because Clifford's got 5 years of starting experience in college.
right?
Years and years and years. And that was the whole point why I said that last year. He was almost like a veteran backup to Love and helped him get through stuff. So
Yeah.
it's a weird move. I
think
still
so.
think something else is going to happen because you can't have Malik. What's his name? What's his last name? Willis. Malik Willis as your backup. If Jordan Love goes down, we're screwed.
I know.
Maybe we would be anyway with Sean Clifford and whatever, but it's just it's weird, man.
Yeah.
You don't have I don't know. I said my piece, and you've said the same thing. So
it's perplexing. Let's look at the rest of it here. There are some more. Okay, running backs. They got bailed out, right, with AJ Dillon's stinger.
Yeah, but how does a stinger make you miss the whole season?
I don't know. Makes you miss the whole season.
This is almost like we're doing you a favor, AJ Dillon. You know what I'm saying? It's almost like they know that if they cut him, the fans will be pissed.
Yeah. So this is to save their ass a little bit.
So they keep him on the roster,
yeah,
as injured reserve player, but his season is done. Which for a stinger, it just seems odd to me. I don't know.
Agree. It's kind of when I saw that it was IR and not designated to return, I was like,
yeah,
that does seem strange.
And they still have an IR. Sorry, they still have an IR designated return spot.
Right. They only used one.
And Andy Herman was talking about giving that to Marshawn Lloyd because we weren't sure when he was coming back. So it's odd that AJ Dillon didn't get that spot. It's almost like they know Dillon is not good enough to play. He's like Emmanuel Wilson's better than him. They know it.
Yeah.
And we all know it too. But still to save face and not piss off the fans, they keep him on the team as injured reserve so he can still hang around and be part of the team and be a veteran leader, which isn't bad, but it's just odd and weird. It's just weird.
Well, and I guess especially, since Jacobs is new to the offense, Lloyd's a rookie new to the offense, he could be like, I mean, I'm sure he can help those guys out, understand what they're supposed to do and stuff like that. So yeah, that part like helps them out a lot in many ways, but they got bailed out by using it. The fact that he actually got an injury that they could use it on.
And I wonder what AJ Dillon, how he feels about that, because
I don't know.
I mean, he signed for that really minimum low crap dog contract, and it's a weird thing. I'll say this. If you told me we were going into the season with Josh Jacobs, Marshawn Lloyd, Emmanuel Wilson, I'd be like, why didn't we just have Aaron Jones and Emmanuel Wilson and Marshawn Lloyd? Because I think Emmanuel Wilson he's not. I think the other problem, I was thinking about this today, I just want to do it quick. Emmanuel Wilson is not great, right? He doesn't have great speed.
Yep.
He doesn't really juke that much. He gets about, like a 3-4 yard carry every time. Once in a while, he'll get a 10-yard carry if he gets lucky. And yeah, he had that one super long one in the playoff or preseason last year, but when he got in the regular games, he wasn't spectacular, but he did move the chains. I mean, he's not even as good as Edgar Bennett was, in my opinion. And I am not a big Edgar Bennett guy. But the fact that we've been watching AJ Dillon play this whole time, we've seen, and you compare Emmanuel Wilson to that, it just shows you how bad AJ Dillon was as a running back. He just doesn't have the skills to be a running back. He's too slow. He can't change direction. Once he gets stopped, he cannot get going again, which we proved on all the last show we did when we did all the one down, need to get one down or 1 yard and 3 downs. And it makes you wonder, okay, if we had a good Emmanuel Wilson on the team, what was the problem with keeping Aaron Jones on? You could have saved money instead of giving Josh Jacobs all that dough. I don't know. It's dumb. You know me, I'm an Aaron Jones guy, but whatever.
Yeah.
So,
well, it's weird too because of the cost, because of what he was already on the cap, and then what you're paying Jacobs. None of it makes much sense in terms of if this is what you're going to do. I will say this for Emmanuel Wilson. I think he looks, and hard to judge, but I think he was going against some first team defenses at times this preseason. He looks more physical. He looks a little bit,
No, yeah,
running like he runs with his pads a little better this year than last year. So I mean, I don't know.
I'm not saying he's bad.
Right?
I'm
No, I
just
know.
saying, like, because Edgar Bennett wasn't bad. Edgar Bennett was a solid to good starting running back in the NFL. But he was a good, solid running back in the NFL at a time when running backs ruled the NFL, right? When we had like superstar running backs
Right.
who were insane. Nowadays, we have like one guy, Christian McCaffrey, right? And the rest of the guys are all part-time players because they're always hurt all the time. I can remember running backs in the day smacking, like getting hit constantly by way bigger guys than nowadays and never getting hurt as much as these wimps are nowadays. But anyways, I'm just saying he's not some kind of like, he's not any, like Josh Jacobs and him are basically about the same, in my opinion. I don't think Josh Jacobs is a freak of nature either. But Aaron Jones, you go back and you watch, we're going to find out really hard the difference between a good offensive line and a bad offensive line. And when you watch this year's team, you'll realize how much Aaron Jones made that offensive line look better. Somehow we had really good rushing years with Aaron Jones, and it wasn't because he was getting good blocking. That's all I'm going to say.
And how many explosive runs are we going to have this year?
None.
Every
time they, I got to say, so, you know this, every time they talk about Josh Jacobs being a Packer, Packers signed Josh Jacobs, they show that same exact play against the Chiefs. There's one play where he does a stiff arm and then runs for like 40 yards. That's the only play he had last year that was of any type of freaking like more than 5 or 10 yards rushing. And they show it every time. And they'll show it from multiple angles to make it look like it's more than one play. It's the same play. This isn't like Aaron Jones where he breaks off crazy runs and like saves freaking the team on, comes out in third quarter and gets a huge run and saves the game. This is not going to happen this year.
Right. When your offense is sluggish and nothing's going on, and then he comes out and jump starts you in the second half. And how many times do we see that? I think they also showed that one play where he, juke Jair like,
yeah.
They showed that one too, I think. But okay, let's get back to the roster here. I know running backs, I'm scared. I'm a little scared about running backs as well. All right, receivers. So this one surprised me, and I think it's wrong. Bo Melton, I don't think should have made the team. I mean, I get that they said he had a really good camp other than the one bad preseason game, but I just don't think other teams value him enough. I don't think he showed enough. I mean, you could have hit him. You could have picked him up, put him on the practice squad again, and used your roster spot for something else if you wanted to, because all these other guys are good. They're better than him, and they're all going to play other than, and they're not going to get hurt, and they're not going to get hurt other than Christian Watson.
Right. And that's the reason why Bo Melton's on the team. And I'll tell you why, because Bo Melton's got the speed that Christian Watson has, and he can take the top off the defense. Without Christian Watson, who you know is going to get hurt, who's got the speed to take the top off the defense? Romeo Doubs doesn't, Wicks doesn't, Reed doesn't, Heath doesn't, and Grant Dubose doesn't, and Samari Toure doesn't. And that's why Bo Melton made the team. And because Christian Watson's going to get hurt. He does every year. And when he's hurt, Bo Melton's going to get the start. Not start, but he's going to be in the game, and he's going to be running deep and taking the top off the defense. That's his job, and that's why they had to keep him. And he's not bad. He's a special teams. He can be a special teams gunner.
Yeah.
And Malik Heath made it because
he's awesome.
He's just a tough, awesome dude. And he's great on special teams. And
he can beat Jair Alexander on one-on-one. But anyway, yeah.
Yeah, but it's one of those things where, bring us back to the old 90s Packers, but it's the same thing with Terry Mickens, where I got that, I called in that one time where they were saying, Ishmael's gonna, it was the Rockets' brother, the Kadri Ismail, the missile, and he was on the team, and he was like a return specialist, and he would be like the sixth receiver. And I called in and I was like, they're not going to keep Kadri Ismail because he doesn't play any other special teams. And the fifth or sixth receiver on the team is not going to be, the special teams guy. Even if you're just a return guy, they had other guys on the team who could do returns at that time. And I think one of them was Bill Schrader at the time. So I was like, I called it and I said, they're not going to keep Ishmael. They're going to keep Terry Mickens because he plays all 4 special team spots. And he's a very good, solid guy. And what happened? The Packers traded Ishmael to the Dolphins, and Terry Mickens made the team. And Malik Heath is the Terry Mickens of this team. That's just the way it is. He's a guy who's going to be out there special teams. If Dobbs or Malik or Dontavian Wicks gets hurt, Malik Heath is the guy who does the same job. He's not as fast, but he's got decent hands. He's a good body size. He can block really well.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. When you think about your fifth receiver on the team, he's got to play special teams, especially when we get to the cornerback situation later on. Guess what? Malik Heath's going to get a lot of games. He's going to be in the top 46 game day roster because he's going to have to. They're going to need guys with speed who can play on special teams because they don't have enough.
And I will say this for Bo Melton too. A lot of the preseason, he blocked his ass off. He blocked really well, even though he's not that big of a guy. So, that he's got value there too.
I think it came down to, Grant DeBose. Everybody was talking about him.
Yeah,
and he's fine.
They can hide him.
He doesn't have the route running ability
that
even Malik Heath has. Malik Heath can get open. He knows how to use his body. Like that touchdown catch he had the other day. He all of a sudden he turned around, the ball was in his face, and he just grabbed it. But he shielded the corner off of him because he had such a big body. It's like that guy had no chance of getting it, and strong hands. It looked like Rasul Douglas, where Rasul just turns around and there's the ball and just grabs it. Right.
I'd love to see Malik Heath, Rasul Douglas matchups. That'd be good.
That's probably scary.
Malik. The other thing with Malik Heath is he's a freaking dog. He's a badass. Like, he doesn't back down from anybody. Like, I mean, I get Dobbs, and Watson and Reed's kind of a little edgy, maybe a little bit, but most of these other guys are pretty low key, kind of quieter. Malik Heath he's a badass.
Well, they asked the receivers questions during the preseason. I watched the video and they were like, who's the biggest talker in the wide receiver room? And all the corners were like, Malik Heath. That guy, he won't shut up. And it's true. And so, you know what? If you could talk it, and sometimes it's just talking about it will mess with a guy and just be like, shut up. It's like Deadpool, the guy won't shut up. And you get mad at him and it frustrates you as a corner. So I think it's the right move there. They got that one right.
All
okay.
Right.
The receivers, they got right.
Tight ends, no surprise. Luke Musgrave, Tucker Kraft, and Ben Sims.
You got to bring it back up.
Oh, I'm sorry.
You don't have it on the screen here.
I'll switch. All right. Switch that out. Tucker Kraft, Luke Musgrave, and Ben Sims. I put them in that order as opposed to this order, but whatever. I don't like the IR spot for Tyler Davis unless
I don't either
unless it's because of a contract thing. Like, this helps them. I don't know, or if they have to pay an injury settlement or something. Because did you watch him play this year? He has zero value. Zero value.
And this is 2 years in a row. It's like, I don't know if he's got some kind of, he must have something on the Gute, right? He knows something about something that's 2 years in a row. They keep him on injured reserve for the whole year and pay him. It's ridiculous. He's not there's no upside for Tyler Davis. He's not going to someday in the future be like, that's what your injured reserve spots are for. And they use both these two guys, like Tyler Davis and AJ Dillon. There's no upside there. We know exactly what they are.
Right.
They're not injured reserve players. They're guys you just cut.
Yep.
Like, I hate to say it, they're veteran guys who have no potential to do something, and they can't help you now because there's better players on the roster right now than them. So putting them on injured reserve makes no sense, especially when you had Joel Wilson out there who was working hard and doing pretty good. Mm-hmm. And you also brought back the fullback who could help you. What's his face? Pearson, right? They could he could help you at tight end sometimes and running back, especially with both those two guys injured, Tyler Davis and AJ Dillon. And he didn't make the team either.
Right.
So it's a weird situation. I don't understand it. But maybe I guess they don't have that many injured guys this year. So they're like, oh, we got to put some guys on injured reserve. I guess we'll put Davis and Dillon on there. And they'll be back next year, and they'll probably be on injured reserve again next year because nobody wants them. No other team is going to want them. I hate to be a jerk.
It's true. No one's going to take those guys. They don't have any reason for any NFL team to waste a roster spot on them. Let's look at the offensive line. This one also I don't get it. Did anybody else watch the preseason games where a bunch of the starting offensive linemen didn't play?
Yeah, I watched them.
So were these guys worth keeping was it worth keeping this many of them?
I think the problem is they don't have anybody who is like Zach Tom was his rookie year or like Lucas Patrick was, where Lucas could play any of the three interior spots and Zach Tom could play any spot. And you have those two guys. So then you keep like only three offensive linemen other than those two as backups because those two guys are the ones that are going to play. And the other three are going to just be like, they ain't going to play. But now you got guys like Andre Dillard. He can't play anything but left tackle, and he kind of sucks there. When he played right tackle, he was god awful, right? But he can only play left tackle and sort of be serviceable there. Jacob Monk, he's a rookie, so I understand that, but he wasn't. Well, he can play center.
He's disgracing the number 62.
He did better in the last game. Kadeem Telford, I'm telling you, I don't know. Andy Herman seems to really like him. I'm watching the film. I don't like him. I think
all these guys look soft.
They don't. Big, and yes, he doesn't push. He doesn't work hard. None of these guys work. I don't know. Travis Glover, I don't even remember him playing. So yippee skippy.
There's no finish to any of these guys. There's no aggression or finish to any of these guys.
And so it's Rasheed Walker is your starting left tackle. That's fine, but he's got a motor. He's got the big dog motor, and not big dog Mercedes Lewis, big dog Glenn Robinson, where he works hard for a second, and then after that second, he's done. He's out. Is he getting better at that?
No, I was surprised by Caleb Jones because when he got a chance to run block, there was value. Like he looked awesome.
For some reason, the Butkus does not play him. He didn't come in until like the third. He was the third guy with the backup guys. And that's the other thing. It's even more dumb. Gute kept Caleb Jones sitting on the roster for 2-3 seasons. This is like, this was a guy they had to have make the 53-man roster for the last 2 years because he's so huge and monstrous. And now they just cut him.
Yeah.
Because he stinks. Why did he make the team in the last 2 years? If you're going to sit there and hide him for 2 years, it's dumb. And Jordan Morgan was drafted as a tackle, and now he's apparently a guard because he can't play tackle. So you could have taken a really good, awesome guard from college who was a good actual guard, and instead they took this tweener guy with short arms who's athletic and tall, but doesn't have the strength to play guard, and he doesn't have the arm length to play tackle.
Sounds it's going to be Royce.
It's going to be like Royce. At least they got finally cut ties with Royce, but
right.
They have all these guys, and I think this is going to shake up a little bit. I have a hard time believing that all 10 of these guys are going to stay on the roster. Like this will be one of the spots where if they pick up a guy who got cut from somebody, I think one of the offensive linemen will be gone.
Right.
Travis Glover or Kadeem Telford or maybe even Andre Dillard, because I don't think he played that great.
When I first looked at it, that's what I thought too, like an easy cut for you know a roster change. But I mean, Travis Glover, I mean, no one is going after that guy. You could have easily cut him and put him on the practice squad.
Yeah,
come on. I mean,
like, does Travis Glover deserve to make the team over the quarterbacks that they cut? No, not at all. And that's the thing that's so shocking about this.
It's weird.
It's just odd. And Luke Tenuta, another guy they picked up, they had him sitting on the 53-man roster for a while, and he's just gone too. And I don't get it. So it's a very strange offensive line. At least we got Zach Tom. Hopefully he'll stay healthy all year and play great. And Elton Jenkins is serviceable, and Rasheed Walker's okay, and Josh Myers stinks. And I have to be. I don't know. I kind of like Sean Ryan.
He's doing a lot better.
He's a good run blocker, at least.
Yeah.
I'd rather see him out there instead of Jordan Morgan at this point.
I don't want to see him at
Josh Myers.
Yeah, I don't want to see him at center, but I think he's made some strides.
I know. That's the problem.
They don't really have a good center.
They don't.
No.
They didn't last year either. But it's interesting, but 10 offensive linemen is a lot. Yep. And I think that one of them will probably get cut or two when they'll make some roster moves. There's got to be a corner out there they're looking for or something because
they need one. Yeah. As a side note, Lucas Patrick is currently on the Saints as their starting left guard for like $1.2 million this year.
Yeah,
so
could have been awesome to have him back. He would have been he would have been the chess piece who you could have got rid of all those 3 of those crappy guys and just kept him as your number 1 backup to the interior, and you'd have been fine all year long.
Okay, let's switch over to the defensive side. And what the hell are we doing? 6 outside players, Ben, for 2 spots. Preston Smith, Rashawn Gary, Lucas Van Ness, Kingsley Enagbari, Brenton Cox Jr., and Aaron Mosby all got to make the 53-man roster.
This is a joke in many ways. Not only have they always had too many. I remember last year when they were considered outside linebackers, which they weren't. They were all defensive ends last year too, because they can't cover anybody. All they can do is rush. And remember what they had, like 12 guys at defense outside linebacker, and they had like 4 inside linebackers.
Yeah.
And only 2 of them were active because the other 2 guys were hurt at that day we went to practice when Bill Belichick was there. And we were like, what the heck? There's like 12 guys working out with outside linebackers. And then here's, Eric Wilson and frickin' Isaiah McDuffie, the only 2 inside linebackers, because the other 2 guys, because Quay Walker and Campbell were both hurt that day. And we're like, wow, this is just odd. And it's the same thing. It's a 2-spot rotation. Mm-hmm. You don't need 6 guys. And not only that, I don't know what Brenton Cox Jr. did to make him think he could make the team. I mean, he had a good college career, but he was a head case and got in trouble a lot. At least Aaron Mosby made some plays in the preseason that everybody remembers his name. Mm-hmm. I mean, he had a pick and some other crazy stuff. At least he could intercept the ball. That's pretty good. You could drop him back in coverage, do something with him. I could see keeping 5 with Cox getting cut. But I think keeping both of those 2 is a mistake, because in your next line with your defensive tackles, where now this they get right because we only need 2, because we're in a 4-3 now, right? Except for, of course, when you're running goal line. Here they keep Kenny Clark, Slayton, Wyatt, Brooks, Colby Wooden, which are all guys we know, that we have. And then Jonathan Ford, who's injured reserve designated to return. Okay, so he's the other designated to return, or the one designated to return guy.
Right.
Which is interesting. But
which also is weird, because
they hit him on the roster for 2 years too. The same thing with Caleb Jones.
You look at, so Colby Wooden, Devontae Wyatt, maybe even Brooks in some packages could bounce out and help you out at defensive end if you need it.
They totally could, which is why it makes no sense to keep 6.
Exactly. And especially if you got Jonathan Ford designated to come back. Like, what are we doing? What are we doing?
When he comes back, Brenton Cox and Aaron Mosby are gone. Those are 2 guys who could be cut for spots too, because it makes no sense. Yeah. It makes 0 sense to keep 6 guys at defensive end. It's dumb. Now, maybe Aaron Mosby has enough athleticism. He could play some outside linebacker at times. I mean, he showed he can go drop back and get a pick. I don't know. Okay. But as an undrafted guy, I don't think he's something that you're going to be writing home about.
I didn't look at, I guess I didn't pay attention enough to him and Cox on special teams if they really made much of an impact.
But I don't know. But usually it's inside line. That was the whole point of, by switching to a 4-3, you have more bodies who are better at special teams.
Right.
These more athletic and agility type guys who can get downfield and have some size. That's what the inside linebackers and tight ends, were good at back in the day. That was your Bernardo Harris's and Keith McKenzie was a defensive end, but he was a small defensive end. He was mostly an outside linebacker playing defense. He's a pass rush specialist at that time. And then you had Jeff Thomason, right?
Yep.
And Lamont Hollandquist, those size guys, right? That was when the NFL was even bigger yet, right? Those guys were all like 240 to 250. Now it's 230 to 240. And you just don't need these guys. Like, they're only going to play 2 spots. They're not going to help you on special teams at all.
Yeah. I guess you're going to have Van Ness play some special teams and Kingsley play some special teams.
That's the thing. Maybe that's the thing.
He played it last year?
Did Van Ness play special teams last year?
Yeah.
I don't remember.
Yeah.
Okay.
But if you have those 2 guys play special teams, what are you doing with Brooks or Cox and Mosby? I mean,
they won't even make they won't start. They won't even get the 46-man roster to start. It's dumb.
And now a guy who could help you on special teams and maybe on defense, probably your worst cut, Christian Welch, Wisconsin guy. Freaking, again, we screw the Wisconsin guys. For some reason, we can't have good Wisconsin guys on our team, even when they play their ass off and make every play imaginable in the preseason. What more does that guy got to do to make the team? But he's not on the team.
And they call this inside linebacker, which I find hilarious because it's just linebacker now in the 4-3. So come on, get your stuff together. But
come on, Wes.
The biggest thing here is sometimes there's going to be 6 or 3 spots, and there's only 2 backups for those 3 spots. At defensive end, there's only 2 starting spots, and they have 4 backups for it. And those are guys who can't help on special teams, where these backups could help on special teams. So it makes no sense. Christian Welch should have been on the team. Brenton Cox should have been off the team. and that's just the way it should have been. Aaron Mosby, I think, should have made it because of his preseason game, and he's versatile enough to play special teams as well as play defensive end. And so Welch should have made it. Cox shouldn't have. I don't understand why he was on the team, and it's dumb. And if we get any injuries, the Cooper and Hopper who haven't played at all, I don't know what they're going to do.
Use an IR spot designated a return for one of those guys. If
I
that's
know
what's going on. Like, what are we doing here?
It's weird. And I don't know if by going on the IR, if their contracts are voided, or I don't think they are, right? Or not voided, but like it's
right.
different. It's different than keeping them on the roster with those higher, like second, third round picks. Like maybe they can't really do the same type of thing with the injured reserve. But I think so, because Dave Bakhtiari was on injured reserve all over the damn place, and he's still made a gazillion dollars. So that didn't change his contract at all. So I'm pretty sure it's just, I don't know, whatever.
I'm pretty sure after his preseason, someone's picking up Christian Welch, though. Pretty sure.
We'll see. I don't know, but it's another one of the great
mysteries.
Athleticism over a guy who's just a football player.
Right.
We keep losing guys because we're dumb, and we'll just keep losing them.
Plus, he went to Iowa. Wisconsin guy who went to Iowa. Like,
man,
what more do we need? Okay, this group of cornerbacks is really interesting as well. Okay, so we got Jair Alexander and Eric Stokes, who have had repeat injuries for their whole careers. Keyshawn Nixon, Carrington Valentine, Corey Ballantyne. 5 corners, and your top 2 that you have are guys that get injured all the time.
And they're not that great. I don't know.
Cutting Kalen King, a big surprise to me. I mean,
I thought it was too, because he was a guy who was supposed to be good, and they got a steal in the 7th round. And he seemed to be pretty solid from what everybody was saying.
Yeah, he's a little guy.
Yeah, and Robert Rochelle comes in and makes plays. Robert Rochelle kind of reminds me. He reminds me of like oh crap, what was that guy's name? Shannon Sullivan type guy. Where he's not great, but hey, once in a blue moon he made a play. Once in a blue moon he was out there and he worked hard and got good at special teams, got an interception, got a pass breakup on 3rd down when we really needed it. Robert Rochelle was kind of like that, and these other guys, Eric Stokes, don't even know where the hell the ball is when it's in the air. Jair won't tackle you if it's a running play. He won't even get in the mix. Carrington Valentine is a head case who thinks he's like the greatest thing on earth, and he's just, he's okay.
Keyshawn Nixon is our best guy.
Keyshawn Nixon's our best. And that's not good.
I mean, wasn't it like it was less than a year ago, right? I don't mean to stoke this fire, but wasn't it less than a year ago that Gute said, "Oh, you feel really good about that group and what we have here, and blah 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 blah. And that's why we can trade away Rasul Douglas."
Well, these are the same guys.
How good do you feel about it now?
He thinks they're good, apparently. And as we know from Packers' track record of quarterbacks and judging quarterbacks, not a single GM has known anything about corners. Go all the way back from the Ron Wolf school to Ted Thompson to now Gute. Go all the way back to Terrell Buckley. Name them all. Fred Vinson. Frickin' who else? The Rollins and frickin' Randall draft. Frickin', just keep going. 1st, 2nd round picks at corner, any corners. The only guy we got right was when we signed Woodson, and when we found Tramon Williams off the scrap heap, when we drafted Micah Hyde, friend of the show, and also Rasul Douglas, who we picked off frickin' somebody's practice squad. Those are the only guys we got right. All the ones that they draft, they have no clue what they're doing. Except for one, Micah Hyde, who was actually probably should have been playing safety. As we found out later on when he went to the Bills and became a freaking Pro Bowler. But it's obvious they don't know how to judge corners. They never have. Whoever the scouts are don't know. The general managers don't know. And they're going to look like crap again. And they only got 5 of them. Like, there's times when there's 4 receivers on the team. What are they going to do?
I don't know. I really don't.
You don't bring up Jack Heflin. He should have made
Jack Heflin. No, and Baoju.
Okay, Baoju is not good.
He wasn't good. Look, Corey Ballantyne at least is pretty durable.
And we beat the Chiefs with Corey Valentine Valentine and Corey Valentine. So, that's
so
something.
just look at it this way, right? You got to make decisions on roster spots, 46 players for the game, all that stuff. You go into a game with Jair Alexander, Eric Stokes playing, there's a good chance one of those guys is probably going to get hurt.
Yeah.
How many corners are you going to have active are they
all
active?
five of these all five of these guys can be active every single game because you can't afford to not have them active every single game.
Oh my God.
And let's get to the next cut, which is another, if you want to go down a little bit.
Yep.
And you might say, oh, well, maybe the safeties could help.
Can the safeties help?
They could help in the slot. I mean, Javon Bullard played slot in college as well as deep safety. So and I think that's what their thinking is. But the cut that shocked me, this is the biggest shock of the whole thing, is Anthony Johnson Jr. That was a shock to me because he made plays last year.
Yeah.
Not only that, he played corner in college for 4 years, switched to safety as last year. And considering that they didn't keep very many safety or corners, here's a guy who could, in a pinch, do the job. Right?
Yeah.
I totally believe Anthony Johnson Jr. will be either back on the practice squad or will be signed by another team because he's too good not to be.
Yeah.
And the fact that they kept Oladapo, who I haven't seen him do anything.
Exactly.
But
he was one of your draft picks.
Yeah, I understand that. But Anthony Johnson Jr. is only in his second year. And he's a 7th round pick. So the cost to you is way lower. And you still have him for 3 more years. And not only that, but he's proven in games that he can do things. And he had a good preseason. He's knocking guys' heads off. He was going crazy out there. He was playing great. And he gets cut?
Right.
That was the one that shocked me when I saw that. I was like, whoa. So you're going to keep Cox and all those crappy offensive linemen. And I understand cutting the quarterbacks because they weren't that great this preseason. But Anthony Johnson Jr. has versatility at a spot you're weak at in defensive back, especially at corner. You're strong at safety, yes. With Evan Williams seems to be the man. And if he doesn't start, something's wrong.
Right.
He should be starting over Bullard. I think Bullard's really good too. But Evan Williams just has that extra. It makes that Xavier McKinney signing look really stupid now.
Right.
Like all that money we gave him, and we end up drafting Bullard, and that's the problem I really hate about having to sign free agency starts before the draft. Because had we drafted these two guys and knew we were going to get these two guys, we wouldn't need McKinney. Because Bullard and Williams are freaking awesome, and Anthony Johnson Jr. as your third safety is awesome. We would have been great. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And McKinney, I don't know. I mean, I'm hoping he's great. I mean, they gave him a lot of money, so hopefully he's good. It's just the Anthony Johnson Jr. one shocked me because I thought he is a good player and versatile. He's like the Lucas Patrick of this secondary. You could throw him in there wherever you need. He might screw up every now and again, but not any more than anybody else did. Hell, who was that guy in the playoff game with Tampa Bay who sucked? Redmond. That guy was terrible. They kept him on the team for freaking years and years and years. Anthony Johnson Jr. makes him look like a schlub. Yet we cut Anthony Johnson Jr. and we kept that Redmond guy on the team for all that time. This is ridiculous. Just so that Zane Anderson could be on the team. And I don't know, he's a special teams guy. I get it. But Oladapo, what is he proven?
Right. I mean, I would have kept Anthony Johnson Jr. over both those guys. Like, I don't understand how he's the one that's cut out of this grouping.
Well, now that it's not even this grouping. Add the defensive ends. Add Cox and Mosby. Add freaking half of those offensive linemen. At least three of the bottom offensive linemen could have easily been gone and kept Anthony Johnson Jr.
Yeah.
You could have cut those guys, signed to practice squad. And if you needed them, somebody got hurt, bring them up. They're not good enough. Anthony Johnson Jr. is a proven guy who made plays last year. And yes, you're really strong at safety now, where it was your weakest spot last year. I get it.
But you're not strong here at cornerback.
Right.
And you have 5 bodies and 2 that get hurt all the time.
I mean, when I saw Caleb King was cut, I was like, ooh, that's interesting. And then I saw Anthony Johnson Jr. I was like, what? That's the shocker for me.
Well, yeah, him and Welch were shockers for me, especially when you kept all these other guys on defense. What is we'll get to that special teams. They break it down here. I forget what is 27 guys on defense or something. And those 2 guys are cut. Like, I don't get it. Anyway, here, I'll go back to the special teams guys. Okay, Anders, I believed in him all last year. I tried to get people to believe in him.
Yeah, you did. You're the
He
only
couldn't.
person.
He
Everybody
couldn't
was telling
believe.
you he sucked.
He couldn't believe it himself, and he's gone. Greg Joseph, former Vikings kicker. We finally did it back to the Vikings. They always took our kickers. Now we finally took one of theirs.
Yeah, but Greg Joseph, I'm telling you right now, when the temperature gets below 40 degrees, his kicks are suck. He's not going to be able to kick.
Oh,
He's
no.
a wimpy leg.
Oh, no.
This is a bad move.
You made a 55-yarder in the last preseason game, right?
Yeah, and do you remember what the temperature was? There was 0 wind and no issues. I'm telling you, I'm not a fan of Greg Joseph.
You got Mason come back?
No, God, no. But that's, Carlson getting cut. I don't know. And then even Alex Hale getting released. I'm assuming they'll get him back on that pathway program or whatever. They'll get him on because he's like,
right.
He still counts, even though he went to college for 4 years in the U.S., but somehow he still counts as the international pathway guy. It makes no sense to me, but that's fine. But I don't know, man. I don't trust Greg Joseph or Anders Carlson, but I guess that's the end of that.
That's what we get.
Gute told Rich Bisaccia to take a hike on the guys he wants, but he kept Zane Anderson, which, well, actually, no, I don't know if Zane Anderson was his guy. We all know that. Who's the guy that was Rich Bisaccia's guy? Was here a couple years ago and last year.
Is here last year?
Crap, forgot his name. That's really sad. He's the token white guy on special teams.
He wasn't that.
Who's the token white guy last year? The Zane Anderson from last year. Oh my God, how am I totally blanking on his name?
I can't.
That's pathetic.
We're
a Packer show and I can't think of his name.
I can.
Somebody in the comments has got to know.
I can see him, but I can't remember.
Lee'll know. Lee, what's his name?
JJ is here too. Lee points out, or Lee asks, "Is Williams too small for nickel?" I don't know.
Williams isn't going to play nickel. Williams is going to play deep. Williams will play safety. Bullard will play nickel.
Yeah, because he tackles and he's aware of what's going on, and he diagnoses and gets in there. Mark said he heard about Dylan. It was his neck, and it's the second time it happened, so maybe that's why it's a full season. So let's hope. And JJ's here, says hello from Chippewa. How you doing, JJ? Good to see you. Packers finally boot the boy Royce. You're right. Finally got rid of our boy Royce. Took all these years. That's because this season he was due to make the most money he's made, quite a bit for his garbage self. So they had to part ways and keep these other crappy offensive linemen. Why is our offensive line so bad? Why are they always so bad?
Well, see, they're not though.
But they are bad.
We always have. Well, the problem, it's not that they're bad. It's that they always start the wrong guy. You know what I mean? That's like fair. Like Billy Turnstile. What are we doing? Why was he on the team? He was the free agent signee. He played like crap. I had my favorite video I've ever done, or my favorite video breakdown was the Billy Turner "What the Crap" video. That was awesome. I missed that one. Where I just screamed about Billy Turner on every single play he was in the game on. And now these guys, we still got Zach Tom. Zach Tom's good.
Who should be starting though?
Sean Ryan, I think.
I guess.
It's because he's big. He's big and he runs over dudes. At least he'll help in the run game. His pass blocking stinks, so I don't know. I mean, here's the other problem. If we have one good run blocker and the rest of them can't run block, I guess it's probably better to have 5 good pass blockers. So maybe Jordan Morgan is your guy. You just never run the ball. What? And you could get away with it last year because Aaron Jones can make something out of nothing. Well, guess what? Josh Jacobs can't. He doesn't have the agility Aaron Jones has. He doesn't have the quickness Aaron Jones has. Josh Jacobs is going to look like a chump in this offense. I
just remember a few years back, if the Packers had made a couple of different choices, right? If they had just, can you picture? All right, let's go back to it. Can you picture if a few years back they drafted the Gut and Creed Humphrey, what this offensive line could look like?
Well, I think the Gut would have been gone by I think he was drafted before their 3rd round pick that year.
You could have 1st and 2nd round picks. I don't give a shit where those guys were actually drafted.
Yeah.
If they would have said, we're going to prioritize offensive line and make like young guys who could be studs for 10 years or more, let's do it. Let's build from the offensive line out. And they committed to it and they drafted first and 2nd round picks on Creed Humphrey, I don't care whatever order you want. Creed Humphrey and Quinn Miners. Where would this offensive line be right now? If you still had Zach Tom, you still had Jenkins playing pretty good.
You would have the best interior offensive line in the NFL. And you would have a solid to very, very good right tackle at Zach Tom. And Rasheed Walker is pretty decent. And if he needs help, then the running back just shades over there. But, Zach Tom don't need any help. And the interior offensive line at that point wouldn't need any help because they're all studs. Yeah, we'd blow everybody up. We'd be great run blockers. We'd be great pass blockers. But instead, we got Josh Myers who freaking falls down, and then it takes him 5 freaking minutes to get back up again because he looks like an old Grandpa Jones trying to get up with his freaking taped up knees and can barely move. And then we don't know what we got at right guard because we got a freaking skinny guy who with short arms, or you got a big guy who's really huge but can't pass block. Why are we so negative all the time? That's why nobody likes our show. That's why after 5 years of doing this show, nobody wants to watch us. They want to watch the guys who just say, hey, everybody, we're the Packers are great. Hey, guys. Hey, friends, the Packers are great. I don't know. We did some dumb moves, Goody.
It's bad.
Dumb moves.
I got to look it up. Well, who did they draft in 21 then? Was that the Stokes in the first round?
Yeah.
So Stokes. So instead of Quinn Miners, if they had just drafted, oh my God. Oh my God.
It's guys in their 4th year. It was Stokes.
We have to pull it up. Hold on.
Josh Myers. The 3rd round pick is now gone.
Amari Rodgers taken before.
They had to trade. They traded a 4th round pick to move up there to get him.
Before Amon-Ra St. Brown. Then in the 4th round,
Royce. It's one of the worst drafts Goody's ever had.
5th round, TJ Slayton. That's the only good pick.
Yeah, he's only. And
they didn't know what he was going to be. And then 6th round, Shamar Jean-Charles.
Oh, that guy was terrible. That is a terrible draft. Terrible draft.
That's hilarious. Oh my God.
Especially considering how many good players that were there that we were, if you watched our show, we said to take. Didn't take any of them. And that was the year of the wide receiver draft that they didn't take a single receiver.
They did also get McDuffie.
Oh no, they took Amari Rodgers. That's right.
So of
McDuffie's that year. Okay.
The two players of any value, because they drafted Kylan Hill in round 7, McDuffie round 6, Cole Van Lanen round 6, Jean-Charles, TJ Slayton, Royce, Amari Rodgers, Josh Myers, and Eric Stokes. So the two guys of value are McDuffie at 220, pick 220, and also TJ Slayton at pick 173. So, oh my God, if they had just, and that was the year of a ton of awesome offensive linemen.
Yep. Landon Dickerson who went to the Eagles after we took Josh Myers. We could have had we could have had any one of those 3 guys. Landon Dickerson, Creed Humphrey, or the Gut. Any one of those 3 instead of Josh Myers. Can you imagine?
We could have got 2 of them. We could have got 2 of those 3, and we would be like this offensive line. Think about that offensive line playing with this quarterback and whatever. And the biggest problem is of the areas you spent picks on and didn't draft those guys, you got nothing. You got no return. There was 1 year we could have just been the GM for the Packers. 21. Son of a.
No, every year we should be.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, well, that's what we get. A couple of other weird things, Ben, which is interesting to note that Wesley Hodquist points out.
Mm-hmm. Ooh.
Currently, there are no undrafted players making this roster.
Well, that's what happens when you have 13 picks every year.
And it would be the first time since 2004 that no undrafted guys make the Packers roster.
Well, from this season.
Right.
Because, Wilson was undrafted.
Right. I mean, they're undrafted guys
Keith and
now, veterans, whatever. Like they're in the league. They're not technically, but they still brought in a bunch of undrafted rookies. But it'd be the first time no undrafted rookies make the team in 20 years.
Well, like I said, that's part of the And I think that's also what led to we're losing some good players because we have too many draft picks. Gute wants his 13 draft picks every year, especially the last 2 seasons, and he drafts a bunch of guys, and then he keeps the wrong guys. And then next thing you know, and but it also says there's 12 guys who were undrafted that made this roster, which is a big number. That's a big number for 12 undrafted players, not this from this season, but in their careers were undrafted and they still are on this roster. So it shows that, you know, it's good to have the 13 picks one year maybe to help build up your roster and stuff. But 2 years in a row, really, that's 26 influx of players in 2 years that really screws up everything. And now you have to make choices on, okay, what are we doing here? Like cutting guys like, the quarterbacks, freaking Anthony Johnson Jr., Kalen King, who was supposed to be a first-round pick prior to going into his last season in college, who fell already the 7th round because he had a bad year. But you've seen him play good in previous seasons, which is what Jordan Love had, by the way. Had a good sophomore year and then played like crap his junior year and yet still was drafted in the first round. This is just a corner who did it, and he fell all the way to the 7th. And now we've left him out there for somebody to pick him up. We'll see what happens. But yeah, Tennessee fan. JJ McQuaid's asking about Malik. And the other thing is this. The same thing happened to Tennessee fans were cheering when we signed Andre Dillard too. Because Andre Dillard signed a 1-year contract with them last year and played like dog crap. And when the Packers signed him, there's a whole bunch of people from Tennessee who were laughing at us because he sucks. And he plays like crap, even though he's a first-round pick or whatever, second-round pick, whatever he was, for the Giants. And somehow that guy makes the team, but these other guys who are proven who can actually play don't. I don't know.
11 picks, 11 of the 13 picks make the roster, the initial 53.
That's too many. That's too many. In a normal year, you only have 7 picks. Like we've lost guys who are good players because Gute wants to hang on to these. We don't know what they are.
Mm-hmm.
We have no idea, and especially those offensive linemen.
We talked about it before the draft, right? The number of players they had on the roster, and then had 13 picks or whatever. It was like there's going to be no space left. Like what are you doing? And then at the same time, you have a proven track record of, I don't know who finds these undrafted guys. I don't know who vets them or whatever, or brings them in. But you have a proven track record of finding quality, hungry football players in the undrafted rookie market. And now you're going to have none make this team. And then you turn away guys who all they did this whole preseason was make plays to keep these draft picks. Is that helping? Is that helping the Packers win this year? Any of those things helping the Packers win this year?
And this is the window to win when you have the young, talented receivers right now. Mm-hmm. You have the veterans on the defensive line who are getting up there in age. A couple guys, Kenny Clark and Preston Smith. Like, this is the year where everybody's talking about the Packers as being a top 4 team in the NFC, right? They could compete with the Eagles and the 49ers and the Cowboys and the Lions. Like, they have what it takes to be up there with those teams. And by hanging on to these projects, you have some spots, right? There's only 46 guys that dress. So you have, 7 spots of hanging on to guys for the future or whatever the crap, which we've seen him do many times with Caleb Jones, who obviously they gave up on already. And Jonathan Ford, who I don't know, I guess he could come back because he's designated to return on injury reserve. But it's one of those things where you have to read the room, right? Last year was the rebuild year, and it surprised everybody because we actually ended up getting some pretty decent players in the draft who could actually make something happen. And Jordan Love turned the corner, and boom. And now this year, you got to get with the program and keep the guys who can help you win games, because this is a year to win games. It's right for the pickings. Yes, the Chicago Bears look a little better, but they still have a rookie quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
And it's going to be iffy. The Vikings are screwed. They got nothing except for Aaron Jones. And yeah, he's awesome, but he ain't enough to win that many games. And the whole NFC West is crap except for the 49ers. The South is iffy at best. Yeah, maybe Baker can pull out a couple wins down in Tampa. And yeah, Lukey Patrick's with the Saints, but they still got no decent team. And then the East, the Cowboys always screw something up. The Eagles are turmoil in the coaching staff. Yeah, they got a lot of talent. They made a trade for another receiver or whatever it was, or tight end. I don't remember what it was. They did some crazy moves. They got so many freaking stars on that team on offense now. It's nuts. I don't know how they can pay for all these guys, by the way. The Eagles have all these guys that are awesome, and they keep making trades and signing extra contracts for the receivers, and they're like, how are they paying for these? How do they pay for Saquon Barkley? Where is this money coming from?
I don't know.
Maybe it's because I don't know. They weren't paying their quarterback $40 million last year to not be on the team. Now this year we're only paying Dave Bakhtiari $27 or $19 million to not be on the team, and Aaron Jones $12 million to not be on the team, of course. And the other guys that they're paying to not be on the team, which equals about $50 million in cap space. But who am I to judge Goody's geniusness? But there you go. Yeah, Welch.
I think we
talked about him earlier.
I think that's the most frustrating part to me. Right, is that you saw they make the change on the defensive end. You see players who play well, make an impact, make plays, seem like they're ready to play now in a season that it's time to win. It's time to take advantage of the opportunity and take that next step, not just plan for the future, not just pad extra talent in there that you have to develop in projects. It is time to make sure, especially in the lower part of the roster, that you've got football players, that you've got guys that are good at playing football. And because you're going to need them at some point, probably on defense and offense, and you're going to need their help on special teams, and you're going to need their leadership if they're a vet. And instead, it's the same old, same old. Keep 11 of the 13 draft picks, even though they stink.
We don't know if they stink yet, but that's the point.
Whatever.
We don't know.
And nobody knows. So those are the guys you bring back for the practice squad. Those are the guys you expose to free agency.
Yeah,
right?
But you have them under contract for 4 years. So if you cut them, then you lose that contract, availability. Even though they got rid of Sean Clifford and they got rid of freaking Anthony Johnson Jr., who are second-year guys who they still have 3 more years on them.
I don't understand it.
So, okay, whatever. We're talking about guys who aren't going to play much anyway. Like, Anthony Johnson Jr. is not going to play much. Kalen King wouldn't play much, hopefully, right? We hope the starters would play. I know. And maybe they can get him back on the practice squad, and then they move him up and they become part of the team and so forth. There'll still be shuffling. We all know this. We all know from being Packer fans, we know there'll be shuffling with guys here and there. This will not be the roster that they go into week 1 with. We know that. There'll be other guys they pick up and so forth that'll make things happen. There might be a Rasul Douglas this year. Who knows? A guy they find somewhere who comes in and really helps at a spot that's needed. And this year it's corner. No doubts.
It's always corner. Why is it always it
wouldn't have
corner?
to be if we kept them. If we kept them, we'd have Rasul right now. But I don't want to talk about it. And then we signed 2 free agents to big contracts at spots where we're loaded from draft picks now.
Yeah.
Running back, we got 2 guys. We got Emmanuel Wilson. And, we're not really – running back is still kind of an issue.
Yeah.
Even with Josh Jacobs. Should have no, we won't talk about that. But safety, all of a sudden, we're loaded at because we drafted right. And Evan Williams is just the man. He seems to just be making plays everywhere and just knows what the hell's going on.
Yeah.
So that's awesome for him. And Bullard has proven he's pretty solid too. He's a hitter and he's smart. So both those guys I love. And hopefully Xavier McKinney's the man. And maybe we just play with those guys. We don't need all these corners. We'll just play all safeties. Everybody in the secondary is playing safety. We're playing zone, and they're all just shutting everybody down. Who knows? I don't know. Maybe Jeff Hafley can figure something out. One thing I love is that at least we got Jeff Hafley, right? Remember the last couple of years when they asked Joe Barry, what happened out there? What can we do? He's like, if I knew, I'd tell you. It's like, what? You're the defense coordinator. How do you not know how to fix the problem? Like, you're the guy who's supposed to know, right?
You're right.
And Jeff Hafley has an answer for everything. It's like night and day between Joe Barry, the ding dong who knew nothing, and this guy who knows a whole bunch of stuff. Like, holy crap. I'm excited for press conferences whenever Jeff Hafley's there. I love it. He has plans. He has a strategy. He seems to be able to adjust with the strategy based on what's going on. I can't wait to watch this defense that hopefully will look at the opposing team's offense and attack their weaknesses, which we know Joe Barry never did. He just sat back and went, meh. So I'm hoping, Jeff Hafley is a guy who can study the opposing defense and attack the weaknesses and really make a big play on the teams that the Packers are playing this year. And the defense might be making turnovers and doing crazy stuff. And if anybody remembers, Brett Favre got his Super Bowl because we had the number 1 rated defense that year and the number 1 rated special teams, by the way. Aaron Rodgers won his Super Bowl because we had the number 1 rated defense that year. It wasn't the quarterback, people, yet they get all the credit. So we need Jeff Hafley to be the man. And of course, if they win the Super Bowl this year, which would be awesome, it'll be because of the defense, not Jordan Love, but he'll get all the credit. But that's okay. I'll take Fritz Shermer. And I'll take Jeff Hafley. I don't know if I'll take Dom Capers, but I guess we took him. He was good for 1 year. Of course, we had Clay Matthews and the great defensive line with Ryan Pickett and Colin Jenkins, and I mean the great defensive line. Those 3 guys. You're muted. And Clay Matthews.
Even Howard Green came in and played.
Oh, Howard Green was the man. Great. He was the Rasul Douglas. Picked him up halfway through the year, and he played great at D tackle. And then BJ Raji, of course, and just great defensive line that year. And this is a good defensive line this year.
Yeah.
And they kept guys they should have kept. We didn't need Brenton Cox. We didn't need Aaron Mosby. Dumb. We had enough guys. Colby Wooden could play D end if we need. Carl Brooks could certainly play defensive end if we need. No issues.
Wyatt could too. He's quick enough.
Yeah.
He's
Wyatt's
he's
quick, but he's crazy.
Well, yeah, he's crazy, but that's all
Wyatt's
right.
crazy.
You just tell him to contain the outside. Be outside contained.
I think he does that, though. I think Wyatt is just one of those guys. He just does crazy stuff, beats a guy in front of him, and then messes up the play, but he doesn't make the play. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He's the opposite of Kenny Clark.
Right, exactly. He's
yeah. And I'll say this. I'll give Rashawn Gary some credit. There's an interview with, if anybody has time, they should watch it. It's on YouTube. I can't remember what it's called, but it's Long, the defensive end, Howie Long's kid, not Kyle, the other one, Chris Long. Chris Long's podcast. He was at Packers training camp this year. He has an interview with Rashawn Gary, interview with Kenny Clark, and an interview with Dontavian Wicks, because Dontavian Wicks went to Virginia or something, which is where Chris Long went. So he knows Dontavian Wicks from when he was in college. And Wicks doesn't say much, by the way, but it's the most I've ever heard Wicks talk in my life. So it's an interesting interview anyways. But he talks to Rashawn Gary, and Rashawn Gary talks about playing next to Kenny Clark and playing next to Devontae Wyatt, and the differences between playing next to those two guys. Where he says he knows when he plays next to Kenny Clark, he has a bunch of different pass rush moves he can do because Kenny's not moving. No, honestly, that's what he says. He's like, I know I can do anything I want. He's like, when I got Devontae next to me, I pretty much can only go to the outside because Devontae's got so many pass rush moves. He might go toward me. He might go toward the middle. I don't know. So I got to keep my eyes open and make sure that we don't go into the same spot or else we're in trouble. Now, Why they don't have a plan for those type of things, I don't know. But that's besides the point. Hopefully they have plans in the future with Jeff Hafley, but at least he knows enough to know, okay, when Kenny Clark's in there, I can go inside of my pass rush or I can go outside my pass rush. But if Devontae Wyatt's in there, I'm pretty much only going bull rush or to the outside. And he also talked about now that they're lined up so far out with the hands in the dirt that it's easier to get around the corner to the outside. And that kind of, he talked about that sort of thing and how important it is to keep, you want to get downfield as fast as possible, but then also cut it off really quick and move to, try to condense the pocket, or because he's like, if I go too deep, then the quarterback's got a huge hole to escape the pocket. He's like, I got to be smart enough to, get downfield a little and then cut off that angle so that there isn't a big gap for the quarterback to get through. So it was a good interview. I liked the Rashawn Gary interview. Was very good. He talked a lot about, and of course, Chris Long, defensive end his whole career, and that's what Rashawn Gary's playing for sure now. So it was a really cool interview to see those two guys talk. Kenny Clark actually had a good interview too. And me, I'm really hard on Kenny Clark, but I liked things that he said. I don't think he's a great player, but that's fine. Definitely not worth the contract, but whatever. It's a good interview. And then Dontavian Wicks. Super funny. No, it was funny because he's like, Chris Logs is like, man, I I want you to be on my podcast, but I know you ain't gonna say like more than 2 words. And I was gonna, he's like making fun of him the whole time. And he's like, can you just talk for me, huh? This will be the most you ever talk in your life. Let's go. And he was like, making fun of him because he hardly ever says anything. But it was pretty cool. And they asked Alan Tavian Wicks if there was a corner that he asked him. He's like, is there a corner or somebody you went up against last year that you thought was a real tough corner to beat or something like that? And Wicks is like, no. That's because Wicks knows he's the man. He can get open against anybody. He had the second highest win rate on pass rush around wide receiver routes against man coverage last year. Number 2 in the NFL. Number 2.
Damn, Rick showed up. Hey, Rick. JJ is wondering about Hopper and Cooper. Well, let's hope they're good because we got rid of a guy who was good.
Christian Wells. Well, I don't think they're going to play anyways.
Well, what?
You're going to play. You got Quay Walker and Isaiah McDuffie, who's. I showed you our first video back. I showed you Isaiah McDuffie. What does he do? He reads the quarterback. He reads the play, and he swarms to the ball. He tackles well. I showed him get off, do a punch to get off on an outside run to get off the block.
Tell me
I showed him hold up the block and shed the block to make a tackle.
Pick 220 is going to start over those guys that we wasted these higher picks on?
Yeah, because Jeff Hafley knows him because they had him 1 year in college. And he knows the defense and he knows he can trust them. Would you trust these other 2 guys? Did you watch that preseason game? Everybody kept saying how good Hopper was in the second.
He wasn't good. He was running all over the place.
He had a lot of tackles, but you know why he had so many tackles? Because he did the freaking Devondre Campbell. He just stood there and then watched the guy run a route right next to him and catch it, and then he would tackle him. Oh, great. 8 yards downfield.
He's wearing the same number.
Break up the freaking pass. Read the damn quarterback's eyes. When the ball's in the air, move to where the ball is going. He just stands there and watches it. And then when the guy catches it, then he runs over and tackles him. That's not good defense. When are people going to realize this?
He's wearing the same number as Campbell,
probably
right?
Is. He looks like it.
59.
He's like 6'3" and super fast. He looks a little more aggressive than Devondre Campbell. At least I'll give him that.
He's trying to live up to the legacy of 59.
And we all know Cooper is a heat-seeking missile when you watch the film from college, but he never wraps up.
Yep.
And that's fine in college when you just smack a guy really hard and he falls over. But in the NFL, these guys aren't going to fall over right away. You're going to have to wrap up, and he's going to have to learn that. And we'll see. Hopefully, he figured it out. But I don't even think they're going to get in the field anyways.
All right.
They'll be lucky if they even make the starting 46 because Wilson is going to be your number 3.
Eric Wilson. He looks best in the weight room.
Looks awesome. He's a freaking shoulders like a monster, but he's a great special teams guy, a good leader, and he's your third linebacker, which they're not going to be in base defense very much anyways. They'll be a nickel most of the time. So you need him for special teams. You're going to start Quay Walker and Isaiah McDuffie. These 2 second, third round, fourth round pick, whatever he was, they're not even going to be on there. They're not going to play.
Why do we keep drafting guys that aren't going to play? Why?
Jordan Morgan ain't going to play. Sean Ryan's going to start.
Jesus Christ.
Because it's the Gute. Other teams draft guys and then they play. Now, the safeties we drafted, and actually we can't play both of them. That's the other problem. We drafted actually 2 good safeties. We can only play 1. Here's the other thing. It's really scary. I think they're going to have to figure something out with Keyshawn Nixon.
What?
I think they need to play Bullard in the slot, and I think they need to move Nixon to corner.
Oh.
And then hopefully, Eric Stokes gets hurt, and then they just move Nixon to corner, and then we're fine. Or Jair gets hurt. Well, either one or both.
Well, there's a real good chance of one or
they
both
can
of those
both get hurt. Put Keyshawn at corner, and then Corey Ballantyne or whoever, Ballantyne the other one, and then put Bullard in the slot, and then you got Williams back there making plays, and hopefully Xavier McKinney is all the talk that he is. He plays like everybody says he is. And then our safety or secondary is good. But the fact that, think about that. We possibly might have a awesome safety who's better than our 3 corners that are starting, our nickel and our 2 corners, and he can't get on the field in a nickel defense. Because if Evan Williams plays and Bullard doesn't, Bullard's better than Jair. He's better than Stokes, and he's better than freaking Keyshawn Nixon. And Evan Williams is better than those 3 idiots too. So we have a guy sitting on the bench who should be playing. somewhere. If I was Jeff Hafley and Matt LaFleur, I'd be like, listen, Gute, I don't care. I know we're giving Jair $25 million, and I know Eric Stokes was your first round pick, who's always hurt. We got to figure something out here. And I know Keyshawn, we just gave him a bunch of money, and he's a great guy and stuff. But these two safeties are too good to not play. I'm sorry. I think they should all be out there. I think Keyshawn, and I know that they worked Keyshawn at corner a couple times in the preseason, not preseason, but in the, whatever.
Those guys and Anthony Johnson Jr. should be out there.
Well, right? Anthony Johnson Jr., that's the other thing.
It's crazy.
How do last year we had the crappiest safeties in the league, and this year we had so many good ones, we had to cut a guy who could start. It makes no sense.
We started the crappiest safeties in the league.
Atlanta. Oh, what happened?
They're just talking about Captain Kirk. There's debate.
Oh, they think he's going to get
JJ thinks he's going to be benched, and Lee thinks he'll do well. Captain Kirk. Rick says Captain Kirk isn't going to be benched unless Atlanta.
What if?
Goes bad.
I got something crazy for you. What about this? What if? Are you ready for this?
Ooh, JJ says Nixon was not a good signing. Well,
I
have
agree.
Somebody, JJ. You agree? What is it?
I am not. What if? Are you ready for this? What if the Vikings are halfway decent?
Okay,
but they're not winning because of their quarterback play. They're winning because Aaron Jones is awesome.
Yeah,
and their defense with Brian Flores is like pretty solid, right? And all that kind of stuff. But their quarterback is like Sam Darnold's crapping to bed. And then JJ, what's his face, is hurt all year, right? He's out for the season.
Yeah.
But they're like, let's say they're 2-2, or maybe by the trade deadline, they're doing really good. And Atlanta realizes halfway through, like by week 4, they're like, sorry, Kirk, we're going with freaking, the rookie guy. And then Atlanta and the Vikings do a trade, and Kirkle comes back to the Vikes.
Oh. As long as he didn't sell his house yet.
He probably didn't. He probably has like his million. Have you seen his house? Did you watch the quarterback show?
I'm sure it's hard.
Aaron Rodgers can't sell it. Well, that's Green Bay. Nobody can afford $1 million house in Green Bay.
I love how Jordan Love's like, yeah, I'm not buying that
crap. Yeah. Aaron Rodgers like, hey, Jordan, come buy my house. By the way, has anybody read the Aaron Rodgers biography?
Nobody's read that shit. No,
I haven't read it either. I've heard a couple things that I don't think there's much in it that's new. I want to know if there's anything in there from Jordan Love being drafted to the trade to the Jets. Like, I want to know if there's stuff in that book from there that's actually like important, like knowledge. I know Mike Florio has been reading a little bit, like a chapter a week or so, and he kind of, if he finds something he thinks interesting, he'll kind of talk about it every now and again. But I haven't watched the whole Florio and Chris Sims thing in a couple of weeks, so I don't really know exactly. I just know I heard one of the things he talked about somewhere in there, and I can't even remember what he thought it was interesting, but it wasn't that interesting. It was kind of boring. It was something like after Aaron Rodgers played in the Dallas game, there was like an assistant coach or like a assistant guy with the GMs, like assistant GM or something, who talked to a reporter, and he told him straight up, he's like, yeah, Favre's done. Rodgers is the guy. After that one game, they already decided then that they were going to try to force Rodgers or Favre out of town.
Ooh.
So that's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
So all the way from just that Dallas game, because we all knew Favre played like dog crap in the first half of that game before he got injured, even though he wasn't really injured, but he said he was, so they just took his ass out. And then Rodgers came in and played half a decent. But so anyways, I want to know what kind of shit there is behind the scenes. I'm hoping somebody squawked about the whole, from when Jordan Love gets drafted until the trade. Like, if there's stuff in the book from that's the stuff I want to know. So if anybody's read that book, let me know. Let us know. And give me the heads up, because that's the stuff I want to know. I want to know what was going on behind the scenes during that 3-year period.
Only sold 10 copies.
I saw, we were actually at the Mall of America after we dropped Grant off for his senior year here and at the U of M. We flew over to the Mall of America just to do. We were going to ride some roller coasters, but then I was like, I'm paying $55 to ride 3 roller coasters, because it was like I don't want to get into all that. But we only had a couple hours to spend. I was like, I'm not paying for a full day pass to ride, whatever. Anyways, but we went to Barnes & Noble, and I saw they had one copy, and it was like hidden in with just the spine showing, even though it had just come out. This was Friday, and the book came out on Tuesday. And there was only one copy, and it was just like with the spine showing in the sports section. So it's not like okay, what's the book's name? Lee, it's the greatest name of all time. Out of the Darkness. It's called Out of the Darkness. The Mystery of Aaron Rodgers.
The mystery.
Or something like that. It's called Out of the Darkness. It's a great title. It's not an autobiography. Rodgers had very little to do with it. He only agreed to do an interview with the author after he found out that his parents talked to him, and he talked to like 250 people for the book. And then Rodgers just wanted to make sure that he got his 2 cents in. So he met him for like 2 hours. He had him come out to his house in Malibu and talk to him for 2 hours. And that's all he gave him because he just wanted to set the record straight on things. And after that happened, I guess the book took a turn because then he was way nicer to Rodgers in the book based on from what I hear, not from him, the author. I've seen a couple interviews with the author on YouTube, but I've also heard some things about people reading the book saying that he was way too nice to Rodgers.
So I think you misspoke there. You said set the record straight, but it's probably more like
no. Yeah, set his mind record, his whatever. Yeah, his record straight. Lies. Set the lies straight.
Right.
For him.
Revise actual history into what he wanted it to say. Yeah, I get it.
Right. Yeah. So, anyway, check that book out if you want to.
Don't
let me know. I want to know if there's juicy stuff in there from those 3 years.
I saw a thing today. There's a post today, and it was from like it's from the Wisconsin State Journal out of Madison here, and they're like talking about the book a little bit or an excerpt or whatever, and they're like talking about some things in it, and then they say, well, Aaron Rodgers is a lot of things, but one thing that he's not is boring, and then blah 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 something else. And then so I just commented on the post, like, well, he was pretty boring as the guest host of Jeopardy. That's what I added in there because he was.
That's not nice.
Boring as, and he's boring other times too. He's not very exciting. Anyway, JJ said, listen to this. Says Chicago would be much better. Could be much better. He's concerned. The team is stacked. The Bears are stacked. They went from garbage to stacked.
I gotta say, everybody's saying how their offensive line is so improved. I'm like, how did that happen? Because all they did was make trades for wide receivers. I think it's not improved. I think Caleb Williams is gonna be running for his life.
They're still the Bears.
Yeah, and he looks okay. I've been watching Hard Knocks. Actually, I got to watch that episode. It's out right now. I can't watch it tonight, but I'll be able to watch it tomorrow when I get home from work. But he looked fine, but not great. And on the show, the first episode of the Hard Knocks, they made him look really bad. Like he was missing throws, and it was bad. But then the second one, they made him look like he was some kind of superstar. And then I watched a little bit of the game, and I was like, he's not that great. I mean, he looks like Sean Clifford out there who can run a little bit.
Sean Clifford, woo! I thought
he looks like Malik Willis. He looks like Malik Willis out there.
I thought you were going to say the Vikings pick up Sean Clifford and then lead themselves to the playoffs.
Vikings? No.
Yeah, I don't know. No. Maybe they will.
The Vikings are going to trade for Kirkland Chains again. Because all the guaranteed money they won't have to pay.
There you go.
Atlanta will have to pay that guaranteed money, right? So that he'll only be under contract so that they can cut him.
Maybe it was a secret move. Let's get Kirko over there.
Well, he'll only be there for 1 year, or for half the year, and then they'll cut him because the guaranteed money won't be there because Atlanta has to pay the guaranteed money. So it's genius. It's a genius move. Atlanta screwed up by drafting that quarterback number 12 or number 10 overall, whatever the hell it was. They're dumb. That wasn't 10 because 10 Vikings took it at 10. I don't know where he would draft it at. I can't remember. 11 or something.
JJ meant they were stacked at wide receiver. Okay, be more.
Okay.
Time, JJ. And
are they stacked though?
I don't think so. Lee's looking forward to Van Ness this year. I hope he's more impactful. We'll see. Maybe Gardner will start. And then they can deal O'Connell to Minnesota. Rick, you really want Aiden O'Connell with this terrible mustache going to Minnesota? Then you can cheer for him there. Oh, Rodgers might get 60,000 yards. Yeah, great. He's all about
Who
stats in
cares?
himself. He's all about. Well, that's what he plays for. That's what he plays
Yeah,
for.
it
Does
was
he
it was
want
$25. Yeah, I looked. Actually, it was $23.99 or $24.99. And I was good. I was thinking about getting it. Like if sometimes when new books come out, Barnes and Noble will have like 30% off. And then my wife is a Barnes and Noble member or whatever the crap, so you get another 10% off. So I was like, okay, if I get it for that, for like under $20, I'll buy it, the hardcover. But then I saw it wasn't part of that deal, and I was like, I ain't buying this crap.
Thank you.
It ain't
for
worth
not
it.
buying that. Thank you for not buying that. That's
Well, I
terrible.
thought as a show we should really talk about stuff that there's good stuff in there, but I think it came out at the wrong time.
Yeah,
That's a great book to come out like in the off season when there's nothing going on.
yeah.
But to come out right before the season starts, there's so much other stuff to talk about. It's really a dumb time for that book to come out. And you think this guy he's written many, he wrote a book about Bill Belichick and a couple other ones, bestsellers. So you think he would know when a book like that should be released.
Maybe he does. He's doing it to screw Rodgers or make him look bad. Or
No,
embarrassed.
I from what I hear, it makes him look better than he.
Yeah.
I've seen interviews with him, and he repeatedly says that Aaron Rodgers is misunderstood, and
Oh,
he was a good guy for a long time until the whole immunized thing happened, and now he's a villain, and he had to take the role of the villain, and he's way too nice. He's way too nice in all the interviews I've seen where he talks about the book. So even though it's not an autobiography, it could basically be one because he's kissing up to Aaron Rodgers the whole time in all the interviews.
that's dumb. Well, let's hope the Packers made some of the right decisions or enough of them that they can win everything they need to win this year, or they find some scrap heap guys that bail them out once again because they're good at that. Usually, we'll see. See how it all
I
works
don't know.
out.
I want to write a book. I want to interview
A lot of questions after that 53-man roster, though.
it's the same every year. But half of those guys that we're complaining about would never play anyways, except for a corner. But we don't have any. We didn't have any good corners, so it didn't matter.
5 corners
And
two
6
of them
defensive ends,
and 2 of them are Jair and Eric Stokes,
and 10 offensive linemen.
Mm.
It's dumb.
Hmm.
Anthony Johnson Jr. should have made the team. Christian Welch should have made the team.
Mm-hmm.
For sure, those 2 guys.
And Kalen King, because you need another.
And Kalen King, yeah, those 3. Those 3 guys should have made the team, and because they deserved it, they've proven that they can play.
And you need guys at those spots.
Yeah, and they would be 46-man roster spots too,
right? Because they can all be on 3 of those guys. Teams.
Maybe not Kalen King, but as soon as somebody got hurt, he would be.
Yeah.
But whatever, we'll see what happens. They'll probably get them all. Well, I don't know if we'll get John. I don't know. It's interesting to see what happens. Maybe we'll get them all back. A lot of times, as fans, we always are like, "Oh my God, someone's going to sign these guys." But it's like, you know what? All these other teams had to cut a bunch of dudes too. Are they going to find a spot on their roster for, one of these cast-off safeties? No. Like I'm sure we get Anthony Johnson Jr. back, and we'll get Christian Welch back. No one's going to sign Christian Welch.
I don't know. They might.
No. The only thing is if somebody got pissed and would just go to be on the practice squad with another team, like Lou Nichols did last year. And there's a couple guys that do that where they get mad and they're like, "I'm done. Get screwed by the pack. I'm getting cut all the time every year." Who's the guy? There's another guy who did that who got cut every year. Who was on the practice squad and he finally went to some other team. I think it was a D-back or something. I don't know.
I don't remember that one.
We'll see.
All right.
And the Brewers are in first place. That's weird.
The Brewers are going crazy. I know. We'll see how they do. There's JJ, get excited for the Badgers, but not too excited because the Badgers track record.
Mm-hmm.
They play the big boys and then they fold. But they'll give you some excitement the rest of the time. It's okay. They'll have some fun wins. They'll have a fun season. Hopefully the Packers do too. It is time to win. That's what I know. And I wanted to keep players that are going to help us win right now. And I think some of these guys are not. So let's hope it works out. Maybe the defense can carry him. Maybe Jeff Hafley's the magic sauce. I'm not sure.
Maybe.
We hope so.
I think he is. He's way better than freaking Joe Barry. We know that.
Yeah.
That's not saying much, but
All right. I will update our intro and outro soon, especially because this outro makes me sad now. But we'll catch you guys next time, whenever that is. Bro, take it easy. We can still be Aaron Jones fans, even though he's wearing purple.
Well, I will be a purple Aaron Jones fan for 15 games this year. But there'll be 2 or else there'll be a Packer fan. I want the Packers to win, but Aaron Jones to just look awesome against the Pack. I really do. I want Aaron Jones to just dominate the Pack. But then, of course, the Packers win.
I'm down with it. I'd be okay if the Packers lost the game in Minnesota, actually. But
I really no. If they lose, I want to lose at home, and I want Aaron Jones to get like. I hope that when Aaron Jones comes out as a Viking, the Packer fans at Lambeau are really awesome. I would love to go to that game, maybe, but that's okay. We don't have to go. I don't want to go. But what I'm saying is, I hope the fans are awesome to Aaron Jones, and if he scores a touchdown, he said he wants to do a Lambeau leap Vikings. You know, give him some love. He's the man. It wasn't his choice.
Yeah.
He wants to be a Pack for his life. And he should have been. He should have been right up there with Leroy Butler and Donald Driver. Aaron Jones was the next guy in that list of awesome guy, Packer through and through, who should have been a Packer the entire time. And Gute screwed him. Ted Thompson didn't screw frickin' Donald Driver. He kept him on even longer than he probably should have. And we kept Leroy longer than he should have. Kept signing him back for less money. And he kept taking it. And Gute just screwed Aaron Jones. Just freaking screwed him. That's why Gute is a freaking jerk face. That's why I call him Bruin Gutenkunst.
He made some questionable decisions on this cut down, that's for sure. All right. Well, we'll do a show again sometime. Hopefully you guys are enjoying the rest of your hot ass summer, this little hot ass time we got going on.
Like and subscribe and all that crap. We never say it, but I'm saying it. Tell people.
You're supposed to say everybody at the beginning of the video.
I don't care. I say it at the end because if anybody stayed this long, for God's sake, you should be liking every damn video. We should have a like. If we have 53 views, get 53
Tell one
likes.
friend. Tell one friend.
We deserve to be heard. Real Packer fans who tell the truth. No more freaking bullshit crap where you hear like everybody's like, That's all I'm saying. Everybody, be honest.
I'm gonna
want two regular guys who tell the truth are way better Packer fans than freaking butt kissers.
That's true. We won't kiss any butts. I'm looking forward to how this season plays out. I think it's the Packers' time to make some noise, and they'll get through the expectations. I just hope they got enough cornerbacks to get through the season.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Be good. Stay good. We'll catch you again sometime. Just to hold me, till I dream of you. Got to find